Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we are dismantling a massive and honestly pretty dangerous myth that has absolutely taken the corporate world by storm. It's this idea that artificial intelligence is just a simple plug-and-play efficiency booster. Well, the reality, treating AI as just another software upgrade to make things go faster is fundamentally breaking organizations from the inside out. We're going to explore exactly why that is. We'll look at some groundbreaking data on the global workforce, dig into the psychological impact on the next generation of workers, and finally, talk about the massive macroeconomic shifts we need to actually fix it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Across pretty much every industry right now, leadership teams are rushing to deploy generative AI and autonomous agents. And they're expecting massive, immediate gains in output. But what we're actually seeing? Simply layering AI onto existing workflows without fundamentally changing the way the work itself is designed is causing deep internal fractures. It's straining the people who actually do the work. And worse, it's sabotaging the very talent pipelines that organizations literally rely on for their future leadership.
I want to start with this incredibly stark warning from a business leader featured in a recent World Economic Forum report. They pointed out that prioritizing raw speed over intentional job design doesn't actually create real value. Instead, it leads to what they brilliantly termed work slop. Think about it. If you don't intentionally design human-AI collaboration, you just get a fire hose of faster, lower-quality outputs. The system isn't actually getting smarter, it's just getting noisier. It's kind of like dropping a sports car engine into a golf cart. It doesn't work.
Part 1, the efficiency illusion, pure speed versus work slop.
So, the promise of AI efficiency is currently masking a growing but very silent crisis of cognitive fatigue across the workforce. Just look at the numbers to see how this contradiction plays out in real time. A massive 68% of entry-level workers report seeing an increase in their productivity due to AI. Now, on the surface, this looks like an absolute undeniable win, right? This is exactly what the brochure has promised us. Tasks completed in half the time, instant drafts, automated coding, the whole shebang. But, that number is only half the story. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the paradox it reveals. Despite those massive productivity gains we just talked about, nearly half of those exact same entry-level workers, 45% to be exact, report that they are actually spending more time working as a direct result of AI. Wait, how can you be more productive yet work longer hours? Well, the answer is work intensification. Baseline expectations have completely skyrocketed. Workers are now expected to deliver more, much faster, with the exact same time constraints, constantly reviewing and editing that work slop we mentioned earlier. And looking at this PwC survey data, it visually proves this isn't just an entry-level problem. Notice those dark blue bars representing an increase in working hours? They stretch all the way across to managers and senior executives as well. AI isn't reducing the workload, it's acting as a multiplier on the sheer volume of tasks that need to be managed, overseen, and constantly validated. Simply layering AI over old workflows carries severe consequences. First up, cognitive atrophy. When we over-rely on AI to do the thinking for us, humans lose the opportunity to develop crucial problem-solving skills. Second, that work intensification we just saw directly fuels burnout. And third, we see a massive erosion of job meaning. I mean, if the AI does all the creative, engaging parts of the job and leaves the human to just endlessly edit and validate outputs, work just becomes a narrow, unfulfilling grind. Part 2. The broken pipeline, fracturing entry-level pathways. So AI is fundamentally fracturing the traditional career ladder. Globally, 37% of young workers are in occupations with high exposure to AI-driven task changes. And we're already seeing the fallout from this. Research highlights a 16% decline in entry-level jobs in AI-exposed fields in the US since late 2022. Organizations are waking up and realizing that, hey, AI can do the routine data entry, the basic coding, the preliminary research, so they're simply hiring fewer junior people. Early career access is shrinking rapidly. This is incredibly dangerous because the traditional learning by doing model is weakening. If we automate all the foundational routine tasks, we literally destroy the exact mechanism that entry-level workers have historically relied on to build critical judgment, domain expertise, and business acumen. You can't just jump to being a senior strategic thinker if you haven't actually done the groundwork to understand how the machine operates. And this brilliantly illustrates the solution to that structural problem. It's a checklist from the World Economic Forum specifically for redesigning entry-level roles. Notice that first question there. Are roles focused on where humans create the most value? We have to deliberately choose not to automate certain things.
Sometimes a task is absolutely crucial for building capability or managing risk, and removing it entirely undermines long-term human effectiveness. We have to design jobs to build judgment, not just produce volume.
Part 3. The black box of mistrust, sociotechnical blindness.
To truly understand the psychological toll this takes on the workforce, particularly Generation Z, the very people stepping onto this broken pipeline, we need to look at a fascinating study published in Elsevier. It introduces this critical concept called sociotechnical blindness. Because workers can't see how the algorithm actually arrives at its conclusions or what human biases went into its design, they feel this profound lack of control. They basically don't trust the technology because they don't understand its inner workings or its limits. It's a black box. And this creates a really powerful tension for Gen Z. On one hand, their familiarity and fluidity with using AI tools brings them a lot of hopeful feelings. They know how to prompt, they use it for school and everyday tasks. But the study proves that their fearful feelings, driven by that socio-technical mistrust, actually outpace their hope. They are deeply, genuinely afraid of being permanently displaced by a system they can't fully comprehend or control. This conceptual model perfectly illustrates the domino effect. A lack of humanoid AI acceptance directly feeds into socio-technical mistrust. And that mistrust is a direct, significant predictor of the workforce's belief that they will be displaced. The more opaque the AI feels to them, the more terrifying it becomes as a threat to their livelihood.
Part 4. Rewiring the system, restructuring human AI incentives.
So the big question, how do we mend these broken pipelines, cure the work slop, and rebuild trust? Well, we have to fundamentally rewire how we incentivize human workers when they are working alongside AI. Look at these real-world examples. UK law firm Shoesmiths didn't just give people AI. They created a £1 million bonus pool specifically to normalize AI prompting, and they're now shifting to an AI-aware capability framework that measures performance improvements, not just raw usage. Or look at the job site Indeed. They're actually moving away from rigid job titles entirely to a skills-first model. Crucially, they assess software engineers not just on how much code they output, but on their ability to use AI to accelerate delivery while rigorously validating those results. They are shifting the reward from raw throughput to human judgment and AI orchestration. Let's move to and see how this builds at a systemic level. Because we can't just rely on corporations alone here. Government interventions are crucial. This brief on Canada's Digital Skills for Youth program shows exactly how policy can deliberately subsidize entry-level digital employment. By offsetting hiring costs, governments can ensure that organizations don't just default to AI for those junior tasks, which maintains those critical early career opportunities and really helps mitigate structural inequalities.
Part 5. Safeguarding our economic future, the taxation fix. So the crucial point is this. If AI continues to shift income away from human workers over to capital owners, we are going to need some cutting-edge economic policies to maintain a stable society. Economists call this the social planner problem. Recent economic modeling suggests that to maintain equilibrium, society must actively intervene. Step 1. We have to deliberately subsidize human cognitive work so it remains economically viable to train people. Step 2, we may actually need to tax AI when it acts as an autonomous agent, replacing humans. And step 3, we must subsidize disadvantaged manual labor. Ultimately, we have to economically incentivize human development. If you take only one thing away from this explainer today, let it be this. Organizations and governments must stop treating AI as a cheap plug-and-play efficiency lever. Layering AI without intentional job redesign leads to work slop, it leads to burnout, and it breeds deep mistrust. We absolutely have to start designing jobs, career pathways, and economic policies that fiercely value and reward human critical thinking. Because ultimately, this isn't just about how fast we can produce work today, it's about the future of human capability itself. If we eagerly automate all the foundational tasks, the very learning processes we use to train our workforce today, who will actually possess the wisdom, the context, and the judgment to lead our organizations tomorrow? That's a question we urgently need to answer before the machine goes ahead and answers it for us. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.